Hello, hello. On here a couple minutes early to get you guys settled in, to get myself settled in. So the room is already filling up. Hello, hello. Okay, I'm going to open up our chat bar on the side. Type in hello, and if you can let me know, can you hear and see me? Because this is always good. Awesome, good, good. I can feel, you know when you have like that mystery hair, you can feel it and you can't find it? That's what I got going on right now. Hi ladies, awesome. Okay, good, so good. All right, lots of you coming in, amazing. Can you do me a favor as you are coming on? Can you let me know where you are tuning in from? From Calgary, awesome. Jessica was already ahead of the game on that. We aren't even 7 o'clock on the dot, but we have hundreds of you that signed up for this. And so I wanted to get on in enough time to make sure that we can try and facilitate all of you into this space. Keswick, Stouffville, Minneapolis, Calgary, Mississauga, Melbourne, Australia, oh, my favorite country, Brampton, Edmonton, Alberta, Innisfil, Bradford, awesome. Little Britain, amazing. So the chat bar is on the right-hand side. You can see that as it is streaming through. This is where, as we're going throughout the talk tonight, you guys can post your questions. And at the end, I'll really open it up for more of a Q&A period. Awesome. Yeah, those of you that you are coming on, there's more coming into the room. If you can just let me know where you are coming in from, and then we'll kind of get going with a little bit of housekeeping, and then we will get right into it because we have so much to talk about tonight. If you can do yourself a favor, California, awesome. Hi, Kathy. Kathy's coming in from the States as well. If you can do yourself a favor and close out everything else that you have on your computer or on your iPhone or your Android, London, Whitby, oh my gosh, you guys are just coming in from everywhere. This is amazing. Yeah, if you can close out all of the other things that you have so that we can try and free up as much connectivity space as possible. If anything happens when I'm talking, if my face freezes weird, if we lose connection, first thing that I want you to do is not panic. Stress is not good for your hormones. But then I want you to refresh your page. Sometimes you have to go out and sign back in. Sometimes I have to go out and sign back in. We're using technology, things happen. If something happens where you just can't get back on, please don't freak. Just get off, enjoy the rest of your night. And the fact that you registered means that you are going to get the recording that goes out on Friday. So it will be all good. Okay. All right. More of you coming in. Hello, hello. Let us know where you're coming in from. I'm always so intrigued, especially when we are doing a topic like this, which, you know, like I said, it's just there's hundreds of you that signed on to come on to this tonight. And this is Mount Albert. This is, you know, this is a different kind of webinar. This is not something that I had actually really planned for. Wisconsin, hello. I had, you know, a couple of weeks ago, I was just inundated with various emails and direct messages and personal messages in all of my social media platforms and inboxes around birth control. And not just the birth control pill, but just birth control in general. You know, trying to understand what some of the better choices are for women who had been on birth control and now were off, but felt like their body was still kind of dealing with some of the side effects or the residual effects having been on it. And I couldn't keep up with personally trying to respond to all of the messages. And so I thought, well, you know what? Instagram is where I'm posting every day. I'm just going to start to do a series of really the top kind of 6 or 7 questions that I get asked around this topic. And so I started to generate these posts. Oh my gosh, the response was unbelievable. And again, there was no like impetus behind this. It was just, I wanted a way to try to create as much information, answer people as possible. And so by the 4th day of all of the messages and feedback that we were getting coming in from these streams, I just said to my team, I think I'm going to have to do a Facebook Live or a webinar on this so that I can do it justice and have a bigger conversation, because what I realized is that that is what is lacking for so many of us women and for our daughters, is that there's not enough conversation happening about this in a way where you're told that here's your options, right? It's the pill, it's an IUD, it's, you know, condoms, it's fertility awareness, but nobody really opening up that Pandora's box of, well, why? What are the options around these? What are the pros and cons? How does this affect my female body now and moving forward? What are the types of questions that I should be asking my provider, whether it's my family doctor, my OBG, my naturopath, my nurse practitioner? You know, what are the type of questions that they should be asking me to qualify me to be taking this form of birth control or whatever it might be? And the more women that I was engaging with, the more I realized that nobody really knew what they were supposed to know and the types of things to be asking. And so that's where tonight came from. So this is running a little bit differently than how I would normally do this. I don't have like a sales pitch for you. Some of you have asked about the Hormone Project, which I'll talk about towards the end, but I really just want to talk to you tonight like I would talk to my girlfriends who are asking me this question. And I have girlfriends who are on this call tonight that I've been friends with since elementary school and in high school, who could tell you that in grade 10, I was the one pretty much teaching about this stuff in the change room after gym class, because we were learning health. And I, at this time, was already involved in learning about this industry. My older sister's 12 years older. I was also listening and learning from her. And I remember sitting in the change room being like, the information they're telling us is actually, there's more to it than that. So this is the journey we're going to go on tonight. So let's just begin. I had sat down and said to myself, I'm going to write out some words that I want to share tonight. And 3,000 words later, I have this kick-ass webinar that I'm going to lead you through tonight. Now, I don't love doing PowerPoint webinar. I want this to be a human connection and human conversation that we are having. So I'm going to riff and talk for a little bit. I really hope that you have pen and paper next to you. Yes, you're going to get the recording so you can take this information, you know, down when you're listening to it later. And it all depends how you learn. Some of you need to just observe and listen tonight. Others, you need to listen and you need to jot stuff down. And you're going to need to ask questions and to take it in that way. I'm going to ask that you hold off on your questions for the first little bit, but that if you have a question, you please write it down so that you don't forget it, because that would be awful. And then I'll say, okay, are you with me so far? And I'm going to open up for discussion. The conversation that comes out of it and the questions are really what's going to steer the rest of the evening and what we end up talking about. You all showed up here and took time out of your night with me, which I'm so grateful for a reason. There's something that you're curious about. There's something maybe that you are suffering with, or your daughter, your sister, your mom, your coworker, and you're looking for answers. And I'm hoping that I can provide you some solutions, or at least some insight tonight, to demystify some of what you have been struggling with and to start to give you some simplistic solutions. A lot of what I'm talking about to you tonight are things that you can do that don't cost you anything, you know, initially up front, that you already have in your home that you can start to implement. So if you are all ready, I'm going to get going. Are you ready? Are you excited? Are you so excited to learn this information? And I want to give you a disclaimer. I am not a doctor. This is not I'm just going to sit here and bash the pill webinar. I'm just going to provide you information. Again, this is a conversation. I'm not diagnosing anybody. I am not sitting here, you know, in my home saying to you that you should do this and you should do that. I am going to open up this forum and conversation, and I'm going to give you information, and then you can kind of take that and create your own journey from it. Sound good? There's a real question. I'm going to wait for a response so I can drink water. So there's about a 30 to 60 second delay. Okay, I'm getting hands up. I raise the roof. Okay, we're going to raise the roof on hormones and birth control awareness tonight. All right, okay, so I'm excited about this, ladies. This is going to be awesome. Okay, so like I said, the whole reason this webinar came out is because I was getting all of these different questions. And so many of the women that were reaching out to me, and young girls, like high school girls and girls that are in college and university, and women that, you know, are trying to get pregnant, have had babies, are going through perimenopause, menopause, and beyond, struggling with their mood, with massive digestive and gut issues, always bloated and gassy, losing hair, like a ton of hair, their skin being a mess, feeling anxious and having depression, you know, coming off of the pill and feeling like they had no idea how to resync their body. And for so many women, they were put on the pill before they ever had a regular cycle, or even got in touch with their body to know and be able to compare, okay, this is how I was before I went on the pill, then this is how I was on the pill, and this is how my body feels after the pill. You know, a lot of women come into my practice that have horrendous periods. They're heavy, they're lots of clots. You know, their first couple of days on their cycle, they kind of have to check out. They have to check out from work. They have to check out from their family. They are just in a lot of pain and discomfort, extremely low iron as a result of this, and B12, and their energy is just tanking. Some women come off the pill and they have no period at all. Some women are put on the pill because they have no period and told that this is going to regulate their cycle and going to give them a period. And that is absolute BS. And I will explain to you why that is not true as we go deeper into this. Loads of women that come into my practice suffering from acne, suffering from hormonal acne, from cystic acne, migraines, infertility, major blood sugar imbalances, insulin resistance, polycystic ovarian syndrome, which PCOS truly is a metabolic condition. This is an insulin resistance issue, and it is metamorphosizing itself in the ovaries and with other signs and symptoms in the body. Hypothyroidism. My gosh, I used to say, if you had asked me 2 years ago in my practice, maybe even a little bit longer, I would have said probably 1 in 8 to 10 women that come into my practice are suffering from thyroid disease. I am not kidding you when I say now, probably 1 in 2. When we actually sit down and review the blood work, when we get a full thyroid panel done, talk to them as a human being and get them to describe how they're feeling and what's been going on in their body, 1 in 2 that are coming into my private practice is what I'm finding are dealing with thyroid issues. And this is either hypothyroidism or Hashimoto's, which is the autoimmune form of hypothyroidism. I don't work a lot with women who have Graves as a direct result. Sometimes what they'll have is they started off with an underactive thyroid, it became autoimmune, and then it flips between hyper and hypo signs and symptoms. You know, as a girl, as a woman, like it takes years for our body to not only go through puberty, but to actually get this internal rhythm happening with our cycle. So puberty itself happens over the course roughly of about 4 years time, where, you know, you start to notice on your body increase in underarm hair and pubic hair, breast tissue is developing, your pheromones, like your body's scent is actually changing, your hips are broadening, you might be putting on a little bit of extra weight, your skin texture is changing, it's maybe getting more oily, you're getting some breakouts. It takes a period of time. You know, some practitioners even say that it takes anywhere from 2 to 12 years for a girl's body to fully assimilate into this cycle of her hypothalamus, which is in your brain. So this is how this works. And this is important for women to know. Like, we toss things like adrenal fatigue around and, you know, high cortisol and stress is the issue of it all. And that might be part of it, but where it all begins. So as a young girl, typically somewhere around the age of, you know, anywhere I'd say between 7 and 10 years old, sometimes a little bit later, oftentimes not earlier than that, our hypothalamus, which is in our brain, starts to produce hormones that trigger follicular stimulating hormones and luteinizing hormones that get our ovaries to actually start to work, to ovulate, to put processes in motion to actually create our first menstrual cycle. When you get your first menstrual cycle, it doesn't mean that, like, okay, now you've gone through puberty and now you have your period and now, like, you're good to go. That's just like one part of it. And, you know, for most of you who had your period, if you can remember this far back, or for those of you who have girls, rarely do you just get a period and then boom, it's regular. Sometimes that happens. I find typically it doesn't happen. You might get a period and then there's a big gap of time, and then you might have some spotting, but it's not truly a period. And this can go on for a long time. And so it's not that that isn't normal, depends on the situation and looking at the full picture. But if you get thrown onto the pill at a very young age, and I'll share with you like my own pill story in a moment, but if you get put onto the pill at a very young age, that pill and all the synthetic steroid hormones that are in it, they are nothing like the hormones your body is producing. Nothing like your female, amazing human hormones you are producing. They are synthetic and they are chemical. And what they do is they actually completely shut down the second gland in your brain that is communicating with your adrenals and with your ovaries. And this is called your pituitary gland. Now, your pituitary gland, this is where ovulation is really taking place if we look upstream. And the pill shuts it down. So you do not ovulate when you are on the birth control pill. That means that, you know, as a woman, you are born with all the eggs that you are going to have, okay? When you are ovulating, you are releasing an egg. And the purpose of that, obviously, is that our bodies were created to procreate, even though we don't want to get pregnant. And obviously, every single month, we don't want to get pregnant. Our evolutionary body as a woman does not know that. So this process happens. When you're on the birth control pill, and this is why it's for birth control, it shuts down the pituitary gland and completely eliminates ovulation. Now, some people might look at that and go, well, that's awesome because then I definitely won't get pregnant. Okay, but then you're shutting down a massive part of your endocrine system. You see, your hormonal system, your endocrine system, it is a myriad of many different glands, many different systems that are working together. And you have, you know, over 50, some would even say over 100 different hormones, these chemical messengers that are circulating in your body day in and day out, that are talking to one another, that are teaming up, that are working synergistically so that you have a good mood, that you have healthy skin, healthy hair, healthy breast tissue, a healthy cycle, a healthy uterus, sex drive, thyroid, all of these things. There is not a single action that's happening in your body that is not dependent upon your endocrine system and your thyroid being healthy and being viable. So when we're put on the birth control pill and this part is shunted, your body is very wise and it will figure out a way to try to work its way around that and start to manifest something else. So if maybe the reason you were put on the pill is because you had acne, well, the pill's not curing your acne. It's suppressing the androgens, you know, the male hormones, DHA and testosterone, deeper into your system. If you were put on the pill because you had heavy, painful periods, it's suppressing the excess estrogen, and then it's actually giving you more chemical excess estrogen from the pill and shoving it deeper into your system. If you had polycystic ovarian syndrome, it is like keeping it stifled down and at bay. If you had hormonal headaches and migraines, it is again just suppressing. So behind the scenes, what it's really working to do is it's just shoving everything deeper into your body. And, you know, puberty for a young girl, perimenopause is like puberty in reverse. So just like when we're going through puberty and we have these hyper hormones, and this is on purpose, like, you know, we fear when all of a sudden our body is doing something that we think it's not supposed to do. But when our girls are going through puberty and there's different changes that are happening and their moods are like, I mean, my oldest is 12, okay? And they're like, we're afraid of her some days. Like, we're not sure who's coming downstairs in the morning sometimes. We're like, you know, how are you today? And my husband is just like, OMG, is this normal? How long is this going to go on for? And I'm like, we probably have a solid 4 to 5 more years in front of us, and I can remember it. And I'm like, but you know, it's all good. It's all good. But as a woman, when you're going through perimenopause, it's this same process and stage of time. So perimenopause is anywhere from like 2 to 5 to 8 to 10 to 12 years long of hyper hormones. Estrogen being up, estrogen being down, progesterone typically down, not usually up, DHEA all over the map. And your body, you feel like you are going through puberty all over again. You're losing hair on your head. It's totally being recorded. You're losing hair on your head. You're growing hair on your chin. You're getting a mustache. It's like all these different things that are happening. You know, your breast tissue is changing. And your menstrual cycle is changing. So maybe you had a regular period for a long time and now you're going through perimenopause and into menopause. You don't know when it's coming. You might get 2 cycles a month. So you look at it and you bookend it in your lifetime as a woman, and you have this puberty that starts it off and you have kind of this reverse puberty that is bookending it at the end. everything that we do from that period of time when we initially start to go through these changes and phases as a woman, through our young girl age, into our teens, into our 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s and beyond, all of it is setting us up for what happens over here at perimenopause and menopause. So the thing that frustrates me the most is that I have women come into my practice who say, my doctor told me that I could be on the pill from the time I start to bleed until the time I finish bleeding, that there's no medical reason or any study that says that I should have to come off this, that I could essentially stay on it for the entirety of my menstrual cycle, which is absolute BS. That is a complete lie. It is so dangerous. I think that is so irresponsible as a practitioner. As a woman who's going through perimenopause, the last thing that you should be put on is the birth control pill. It will make your transition that much more challenging, especially when you go to come off of the pill, and it will most likely go after your gut, like microbiome environment, and your thyroid. So this creates just a whole nother slew of issues going on in your system. And how we have successful perimenopause and menopause is it's how we're treating our body in our 20s. Now I tell women that and they're like, crap. What do you do in your 20s? You stay up late, you party, you know, it's like you're not thinking about self-care. It's just you're in your 20s, you're having fun, you're doing whatever. But you can start this at any time and get to that place where you're restoring the health of your body and feeling good and getting things in check. So, you know, this is such a huge revelation for so many women, to realize that the pill does not allow you to ovulate, and then that wasn't happening for so long, and that no one is talking about the impact while you're on synthetic birth control, whether it's the pill, the Mirena IUD. A copper IUD is slightly less because there's no synthetic hormones, and I will talk about IUDs a little bit. I'll talk about things like the patch, the shots where you actually suppress your period completely, those types of things, or the fact that when you actually have a period on your pill, that is not a period. So when you bleed, when you're on the birth control pill, that is not a period being produced by your body naturally. That is a chemically induced withdrawal bleed. So when you're on the pill, you're usually doing this phasic approach where you either take the pill for 21 days and then a 7-day sugar pill, or you take the pill for 21 days and then you take nothing for 7 days. It's in that 7-day period of time where you're taking the placebo, the sugar pill, or you take nothing, that your body has this chemical withdrawal and the lining of the uterus starts to shed and you have a bleed. It will most likely be a lighter bleed. This is oftentimes why women get put on the pill when they have heavy dysmenorrhea, heavy painful menstrual cycles and clotting. And so that's what happens. Now, this is also how when you have a holiday coming up, it's your wedding, you've got something going on and you don't want to have your period, then you just don't take your sugar pills and you don't stop taking the pill, you keep taking it and you keep delaying your period. That's how this works. The only time you bleed on the pill is when you stop taking the pill and you have the chemical withdrawal bleed. So I went on the pill when I was 15 years old. I had regular cycles. I didn't have any issues. I knew I was going to start to be sexually active. So I actually asked to go onto the pill because at the time, it's what I knew to be how you did not get pregnant. And obviously I did not want to get pregnant. I stayed on the pill for 7 years. In those 7 years, I was put on 3 different types of birth control. First couple of years on the pill, I was okay. Then I started to have breakthrough bleeding. I was then switched to a different pill, which had a higher level of estrogen. So this is what happens. If you're on the birth control pill and you have breakthrough bleeding, they will typically put you on a higher estrogen pill to try to stop that breakthrough bleeding. Well, the higher estrogen pill, do you know what it does to you? It makes you cray-cray. So your moods are all over the place. I was crying at anything and everything. My boobs grew a full size. I put on 10 pounds in like 6 weeks. I was an emotional wreck. And after 6 weeks, I went into my family doctor. And I was, I think, like 17 years old at the time. And I just said, I don't know what is wrong with me, but ever since you changed that pill, like my body's changing and growing. I am like emotional all the time. This is not me. I don't feel like myself. And do you know what his recommendation was? Why don't we put you on a low dose of Prozac? I was 17 years old. I had never had any issues with the moods, with any of these things 6 weeks and 1 day prior to when he changed my pill. So I said no to the Prozac. I said, I want you to put me, so at this time I had started to do my research. I was like, I want to be on a lower estrogen pill. I need to be on something lower. So switch me back to one that was lower, literally lost the weight, those 10 pounds, like just literally melted off in that next month. My moods stabilized and my boobs went back down to their regular size. I stayed on the pill until I was 22. I decided to go off the pill because I was in school at this point to become a registered holistic nutritionist. I was doing my second degree, and my first day of the estrogen dominant course, the instructor, what you don't know about the birth control pill. And I think I sat like this the whole class. I was just like, how have I been on this for 7 years and no one has told me any of these things? And oh my gosh, I've had that, and that. I didn't know there was a name for it. I didn't know there was a thing called estrogen dominance. I didn't know that that increases your risk of various estrogen dominant cancers. I didn't know that that increases, your weight, that it increases your likelihood of fibroids and cysts and different breast tissue issues, and mood and anxiety and all of that. I had no idea. And so it was at that time that I was, on this journey of health and everything as a whole. And I just said, you know what, like I'm mature enough, I can start to actually track my cycle, sync my cycle, but I can't do it if I'm on the pill. There's no point in keeping like a period tracker app on your phone if you're on the pill. The pill is what's tracking your cycle. So I said, I'm coming off the pill. I, had a talk with my boyfriend at the time, who's my husband now. It was not his choice at all. I was like, this is the situation. I'm coming off the pill. You're using condoms. If you still want to have sex with me, that's how this is going to work. That's pretty much how that conversation went down. So it wasn't an issue at all. And within 3 months, I felt like the hugest cloud had been lifted off my body. And I remember thinking to myself, man, I thought I felt good before. I had no idea what was being stifled down in me until I actually came off of this pill. It was unbelievable. It was a big part, I think, of how I ended up being in this industry where I specialize now in women's health and hormones, because I thought if I didn't know this information, having already worked in the industry of health and wellness and fitness at that time for 3-4 years, how does anybody else know this information? They most likely don't. And that was one of my big whys and my passion behind even sitting here and talking to you right now. So, that was my story of going on. And I remember being so pissed and thinking to myself in that class, why did my doctor not tell me this? Why didn't he ask me key questions? And the reality is because he himself really did not know. And this is what I've come to learn in all my years of research now and working with various people is that, they only have a certain scope. They're not a female hormone specialist. They are oftentimes being educated by the reps that are coming in with the various pills. There are so many different types of birth control pills and shots and patches that are coming out on the market now. It's really hard actually to try and keep up with all of it. But this is why we're here tonight. Not enough people know what to ask. Not enough people know what to be asked and how to decide what's best for your body. And if you are on the pill and you decide to stay on it, or you decide to continue to use the IUD, how can you just best support yourself? Again, I'm not like, we're not going to meet at my house tomorrow with pickets and be like, we're stopping the pill and like having a sit-in about it and creating this movement. That's not what this is about. I'm not that kind of person. This is, again, just like, I just want you to have the information to know how to create the best support system for your body. Okay. And remember, like having fertility awareness and birth control awareness, this isn't just about not getting pregnant. Like, ladies, if there's one thing you take away from tonight, I'm hoping that this is it, is that yes, the underlying tone, we're talking about birth control, which leads us to think about not getting pregnant, but I want to teach you about your endocrine system. I want you to understand why this is so critical for your future hormone health. Massive. Okay. And I get it. Lots of you on here are like, you don't understand. I can't get pregnant. I totally understand. I don't want to be pregnant either. I've done that. It's good. But listen, you have to have this education piece so that, like I said, if you're choosing to stay on these various things, that you know how to best take care of your body and you know what to do when you decide to come off, because you cannot, I don't care what practitioner you're working with. And let me tell you, if you have a doctor who is telling you that it is totally okay to stay on the pill until into your late 30s, your 40s, and your 50s and beyond, you turn around and you run as fast as you can in the other direction and you find someone new, because that is completely irresponsible to your health and your safety and your body. That is intolerable, in my opinion. And you need to understand too that, you know, your monthly bleed, this period, a true period reproduced, this is a report card. Okay, this is like every single month, your period is telling you so much about the month leading into that. So your period's not just telling you about that day. Your period is really trying to illuminate. It is like a mirror of what has been going on in that past cycle and the cycle previous that is now showing up. That menstruation, that bleed is the end result. And we have 4 cycles of our menstrual cycle. All of you, I'm going to be sending you with the replay on Friday, my free cycle syncing guide. So you can learn and understand more about this and the 4 different phases you go through every single month as a woman. We've all been taught that you just have a period and that's your cycle. It's not true. Your period is the final phase of 4 different phases. So the first phase is that follicular phase, which is in that area of time where the eggs are ripening and where your ovaries and your body is getting ready to release an egg. Your estrogen should be really high at this point. So this is when we're producing a ton of FSH, your follicular stimulating hormone. Then you go through your ovulatory phase, which is where hopefully ovulation has happened. There are so many women who are having a period every month, but they're not ovulating. They're not actually releasing an egg from the ovary. If you aren't ovulating, you cannot produce progesterone. Progesterone is coming from ovulation and the corpus luteum, which is the leftover part of that egg. If you don't ovulate, you don't produce progesterone. When you're on the pill, it's progestin you are getting, not progesterone. So progestin is the chemical form, and it's what shut down the pituitary. It shuts down the ovulation, and progesterone that we produce, it gives us our healthy, shiny skin. It gives us our amazing hair. It helps to stabilize our mood. It helps us with our sex drive. It helps us to feel like our cognition is sharp and on point and we are focused. We're not like living in this fog. The progestin on the pill does the opposite. It actually is more like testosterone in our body. It increases our sex-binding hormone globulin, which actually prevents even more of this from happening. It'll increase the opportunity for you to lose hair as opposed to have healthy hair. It'll change your skin in dramatic ways, and it definitely impacts the gut microbiome, which is what's impacting your mood and your emotions. So they are not the same thing at all. So in that next phase, so you've got your follicular phase, your ovulatory phase, and then your third phase is the luteal phase. And that luteal phase is this is like our progesterone rich phase. This is where in that phase, if your body did become pregnant, that you are enriching it, that the lining of that uterus is nice and juicy and ready to just hold on to that fertilized egg implant and for an amniotic sac and a placenta to start to actually grow. And if that hasn't happened, then you have this dip of the hormones, and that is what creates the shedding of the uterine lining, which is actually your period. Every single one of these phases is so critical to happen. So what happens to women when they're on the pill is there's an entire phase that is not happening, which is that ovulatory phase. And so when the ovulatory phase is not happening, it's impacting the luteal phase, and then they don't have the menstrual phase because it's a chemical withdrawal bleed. Some women will come off the pill and go right back into a regular menstrual cycle. I didn't have any issues coming off of it. Now, in hindsight, when I look back, I think it's probably because I was on great quality supplements. I was getting good sleep. I was exercising. I had already been kind of doing the work to keep my body fairly healthy. What I see in a lot of women who they don't take any time for themselves. They're not sleeping well. Their to-do list is like longer than their body. Their stress is through the roof. They're not eating super good. They're not getting in the proper nutrients. Their digestion is compromised. The liver filters are a little bit clogged up, which we'll talk about after, is that these chemical hormones are just staying in their system and recirculating, and they're just wreaking havoc after. And it takes a while for them to get their period back. They might not get it back at all, or it comes back with a vengeance and it's super heavy. They feel like they get their whole period within a couple of days and then it's gone. Their mood and breast tenderness is brutal. They've had post-pill like cystic acne that just is kind of, they can feel it painfully growing under the skin and it's spreading. There's so many things that happen afterwards. Infertility is a huge one that I work with in my practice with women. So yeah, it's just, unfortunately there's so many different things that can be happening and can be going on. When I was doing a lot of my research for the Hormone Project course that I teach and for a new book that I'm writing, The Simplicity Body, I kept coming across the same study that just kept blowing my mind. And I found the study about, a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago now. It was actually published at the end of 2015 by the ACOG. And the ACOG is the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists. So this is like allopathic. This is Western medicine. This isn't even holistic. And they actually did a tandem study with the American Academy of Pediatrics because they were noticing all of these, I don't want to say weird, but not normal changes happening in young girls during puberty and happening in teens' bodies in early 20s. And the study was actually called Menstruation in Girls and Adolescents, using the menstrual cycle as a vital sign. And what they actually stated is that they believed that the identification of abnormal menstrual patterns in adolescents needed to be implemented and needed to be caught on early by family practitioners and OBGs to make sure that we were actually setting up these girls to understand and know the difference between a normal and abnormal menstrual cycle, and then how to be able to evaluate that and know how to treat their body moving forward. Saying that this was actually like the fifth vital sign to me was huge because, and this only exists for women, not for men, because men don't menstruate. So they have like the 4 vital signs, which is like the brain health, the heart health, the lung health, looking at that whole body. For us, this 5th vital sign is so critical. If your menstrual cycle is off, everything is off. And you have to understand that your period being off is not your root cause. It is a symptom. All of your period problems are symptoms. They are not causation. And so when I started to dig deeper into the research, what I found is that more than 60% of girls and women that are put on the birth control pill are not put on it for birth control. They are put on it for period problems or issues associated with their menstrual cycle. So the heavy periods, irregular periods, no periods, painful periods, acne, mood swings, exacerbated PMS, headaches, and hormonal migraines, and breast tenderness. And again, being told that this is going to regulate their system, which it actually doesn't. We know now it just turns everything off. I work with girls all the time and women where they on the surface look like they're doing everything right and they cannot lose weight. They are working out and not crazy, just an appropriate amount. They're eating healthfully. They are taking some key supplements and they get told their blood work is fine, that nothing's wrong with the thyroid, that, their vitamin D levels are fine, their iron is fine, their glucose is fine. Part of what I do in my practice is I review everyone's blood work. And if they've had other diagnostics, if they've had, Dutch hormone paneling done, if they've had cortisol, like salivary hormone paneling done, GI mapping, autoimmune screening done. There's so many different diagnostic tools that are used nowadays. But it's so important to have a set of eyes that is like getting this aerial view of what's going on in your body and looking at the data. And we're not trying to look for things that are like already in the red zone, already in the like flagging it like, oh my gosh, we got to act fast. We want to catch things when they're suboptimal. So when you get told everything is fine, I'm always like really leery about that line of fine. And oftentimes what I have when women come into my practice is I look into their work and I'm like, these results are not fine. Like you are sitting at the lowest end of the range. Like for instance, with ferritin, where the range on most labs is anywhere from 11 to 144 is considered normal. And I have women who walk into my practice, or we do it online, but that are sitting at like 11 and they're fine. Meanwhile, they have no energy, dark circles under their eyes, the heaviest periods of life, their hair is falling out. They feel like they are losing their mind. They look in the mirror and don't even understand who is staring back at them anymore. And they are just dragging through every day of their life, but they are told they are fine. Only their TSH is being measured and it sits within the okay range, but no one's digging deeper and looking at their free T4 and their free T3, the active forms of these thyroid hormones, and every cell in your entire body needs T3. If we're not testing it and we don't see that you're low in that and that conversion is an issue, and that the birth control pill impacts this because it changes the entire structure of your gut environment. It changes the entire conversation of all the species and the bacteria living within your microbiome, and you convert T4, which is what your thyroid produces, into T3, this active form, in your gut. Your liver helps, your kidneys help. Well, guess what? Your kidneys, from a Chinese medicine perspective, are really governing the health and vitality of your ovaries. Your liver, ladies, is involved in every single aspect that has to do with our hormones. It is where you detox and metabolize all of the chemical forms of estrogen that you are getting not just from the pill, but from your skincare products, your body products, you know, plastics, all of the environmental toxins. And yet nobody is teaching you about this. And so you just move on in life and think that you just need to take antacids for your gut issues, that you need to drink Prilosec for your antacid issues, that you need to take Gaviscon, that you need to be slurping back whatever it is that's making you poop every single day, a liquid laxative, that you just need to hop yourself onto Synthroid and that's going to solve everything, or that it's just in your head. And this is all absolute BS. And I work with these women who can't lose weight. And then we start to dig deeper and we take a look into what's going on in their body. And it's like, oh my gosh, I had a girl I was on the phone with today, who's on the birth control pill, and I feel like I can see what's going on in her body. I feel like I had Dutch testing done on her. Her androgens are high, which are male hormones. I feel like there's possibly some PCOS happening behind the scenes and definitely some insulin resistance, but I can't tell 100% because the pill will keep that into suppression. So until her body comes off of it and actually like lifts the blindfold and lifts the veil, I won't be able to get the full picture, but I'm going to lead with my gut and with my heart on this and with what I know. And I'm going to support her body the best that I possibly can to make sure that we are working on those things behind the scenes, because she's not ready yet to come off the pill. And that's a really big decision. And it's a very personal decision for women. And so again, it's not just about like, boom, I'm coming off. And some of you might decide, like some of you might have thrown your pills out while you're on here right now. That was like my attitude when I heard about it. I was like, I don't actually need to be on this right now, so I'm done. But for others, it is a scary decision to make. You may not have the support from your spouse. This is like such an individual, very personal choice. I just want you to hear the information. And if you're not ready for that choice, it's okay, but just take care of your body. And I'm going to get to the 7 pillars of my kind of health protocol of how I want you to start to think about how you're taking care of your female body and really protecting yourself. I'm just gonna come in here because I'm seeing some hands raised on this. Okay. How we doing so far? How you guys doing? I'm gonna close this part up here. Let's take a moment. Is this all making sense? Is it like, are you still with me? Give me something. Awesome, love it. Okay, great. Everything you said sounds like me. Definitely have the estrogen dominance. Okay, wow, so many comments coming through. They're all flying up. We're saving big questions to the end. Yes. Taking it all in. Yes, yes. Great so far. So happy I found you. Okay, awesome. Good. Oh, I'm getting goosebumps. Yes, you are getting a copy of the webinar. You're getting a copy of the webinar. Where have you been in my life for the last 15 years? Learning all of this. Learning all of it. You know what? I'm going to be honest. Oh, this is so awesome. See, I'm getting tears. This is why I get up and do what I do every day. Because how do we not know this? Like, how is it? It should not be where it's like there's a few of us that are privileged to have this information. You shouldn't have to like dig so hard and have to learn this on Instagram. This is the whole thing, is all of us deserve to know this, and all of us deserve to be educated enough for our girls to know this. You know, it's like I listen to my daughter come home from her health class, what they're being taught, and I'm like, fuck, these girls who don't know, they just don't stand a chance. And you know, like asking the question, where have I been for the last 15 years? I'll be honest. Talking about topics like this, it's kind of scary because there are some really wacky people out there. I'll tell you, my second day of putting the post out about the pill, I had my first death threat ever on social media. And I was like, oh my God. And it was from this woman who was so irate. She was like, do you know what we've done for women's rights to be able to have the option for birth control and and here you are spewing all of these lies, and there is nothing wrong with the health and the efficacy of being on the pill, and women can be on it from the day they bleed until the day they stop bleeding. And I was just like, I didn't even respond because that's just, it's her story and it's what she believes. And I'm not trying to convince anyone of anything otherwise. Again, I'm just trying to be a medium. I'm just simply, I'm trying to fill this void where you're asking me on the side, where's this information been or where have I been? It's being brave enough to actually start the conversation. That is what I'm doing, is starting the conversation. This type of stuff is why I wrote a book. This is why I created the Simplicity Project, which I then created the Hormone Project, because there's just not enough of it out there. And in a way where I want you to feel like I said, we're just having a human conversation. Okay. Yes, I'm going to talk about endometriosis as well. Okay. So let me come back over here. Okay, so I just want to scroll down. I've got through a lot of this stuff with you guys. So, okay, so let's talk about this, about estrogen dominance. Let me get a sip of water and a Kleenex for this. So estrogen dominance, this is the thing that, you know, I wish we're talking a lot about the impact of, you know, plastics and BPA and, you know, yes, we took BPA out, but what they've replaced it with is just as harmful for our bodies. But when we're on something like a synthetic hormone, it is increasing our estrogen. It, you know, like the pill now is affecting our body almost like an antibiotic does in terms of our gut bacteria. And no matter what the issue is that's going on, whether it's endometriosis, PCOS, the thyroid, we have to come back to the basis of looking at what's going on in our gut, what is actually going on in this microbiome in our system. When we start from that place of optimizing your digestion and your assimilation, actually pulling the nutrients out of the food that you are consuming, we can start to calm down so much of the inflammation that's happening in the uterus, in the ovaries, in the endocrine system, and your whole body as a whole. That is what a holistic approach is it's not just this dogmatic, like single prong going after one thing. And if that's the approach that you are taking or your practitioner's taking, you need to ask some better qualifying questions, because holistic is whole person, whole life, whole body. So, you know, let's talk endometriosis. So endometriosis is an inflammatory disease of the uterine lining. It can also grow outside of the uterus. It can move up into the fallopian tubes, into the ovaries. It can move itself into the bowels. It is extremely painful, and it is 100% fed by excess estrogen, and not the estrogen that your ovaries are producing, but by the estrogen that is coming in the form of different products and chemicals. The estrogen that your fat cells are producing. The more fat cells we have on our body and the more toxicity stored in these fat cells, this is where your body stores toxins, is in your fat cells, because they're juicy and lipid, and your body is smart. It knows if I tuck these toxic things that I don't even know what these are into these fat cells, they are going to stay protected here and they're not going to circulate in the body. But the problem that happens behind the scenes is that your fat cells get really smart, and they're like, I don't even need the ovaries or the adrenals to be producing estrogen for me. I can produce my own estrogen. I can also start to produce my own cortisol. I can start to produce my own insulin as well too. And this is like happening slowly behind the scenes. A lot of women are also born in an estrogen dominant state, meaning that you can take part of that on from your mother's body and microbiome as well too. And I will probably do a whole seminar that is just on endometriosis because it's such a big topic. But estrogen dominance, this is like if you've suffered from cyst, from fibroids, from really bad PMS, from heavy cycles, from really bad breast tenderness, like where you just can't even put your bra on, or when you take it off, you're just like, oh my God, it hurts so much. Endometriosis, weight gain. These are signs and symptoms of estrogen dominance. And so when we're looking at how do we clear this excess estrogen out of the body, digestion, the bowels. If you aren't pooping, you are not detoxing. And if you aren't pooping and detoxing, you are retoxing. So when people are doing all of these cleanses and they're taking all of these different supplements and they still don't poop every single day, or the only way they poo is by having a coffee, which is chocked full of estrogen. I am not on the coffee bandwagon. I am not on the bulletproof coffee bandwagon. Are there different benefits? Okay, sure. Yeah. Not for the women that I work with. For the women who are coming in with the estrogen dominance, with the adrenal issues, with HPA dysregulation, with blood sugar imbalances, with thyroid problems, I have never had a woman in my practice who has done well staying on coffee and thriving on it. If you were having 3 cups a day, maybe we get you down to 1 cup and you're okay there. But generally speaking, it's not doing a body good. And so we need to be supporting pooping. You have to be having daily bowel movements that your body is actually creating. Is there peristalsis? Is there, like, having a poop is a workout inside. You have 28 feet of intestinal tract. You have to actually push your poo up, then across, and then down before it makes its way through and actually gets out. And so there's, like, proper pooping techniques, not just based on what you're eating and what you're drinking and supplementing with, but, what's your level of stress? Do you have a, potty, squatty potty or a stool underneath your feet so you're in the right mechanical position to be having a bowel movement? How is the health of your liver? If your liver is really, congested, and I see this a lot with the hormonal acne, with the inflammation in the breast and the painful periods, is that the liver has not had any attention. And how would you know to do this as a woman? Because no one's teaching you this. So, really gentle thing you can do for your liver every single day. And I do not work for this company. I'm just sharing it. And I love it because I don't know you. I do not know your history. I cannot sit here and prescribe anything to you, but I can tell you that you can take this. It is gentle enough. And when you're buying a supplement in a health food store, they are never telling you the therapeutic dose because they don't know you. They cannot legally. St. Francis is the company. Liver Hepato DR. Okay, we will link this up in your notes. Liver Hepato DR. Okay, you just take it like this. I'll even show you how you do it. You're going to do about 2 full droppers worth in your mouth. You drink some water. There's your 1 simple step. Okay, it sits by my desk because I'm at my desk every single day. You can buy St. Francis at any of your health food stores, even in the natural health section at Zehrs and Superstore, Nature's Emporium, your big stores. St. Francis is an incredible company. It's a great product. That could be your 1 simple thing you do for your liver health. Can you start to add fresh lemon juice? Could you add chlorophyll to your water? Can you decrease the chemicals that you're taking in your products? Can you decrease the alcohol that you are consuming? Can you start to cut the sugar and, a lot of the unhealthy fats? All of those things are going to raise the vibration and energy of your liver. Chinese medicine is probably one of my most favorite therapeutic practices for reestablishing liver connection. If you are breaking out all along the jawline, in between the eyebrows, okay, right here, Chinese medicine wise, this is liver, okay? And the liver, there's many different points on the body, but on the face, there's actually face mapping. So if you are suffering from acne, if you Google face mapping, you'll be able to see. Like the forehead, this is all like digestion. So if you're clogged, in your digestive system, constipation, reflux, bloating, any of those issues, you'll probably see it show up in the forehead. This is, again, going to be liver. Like, I know for me, because my vulnerability in my body is not digestion or those things, it's skin. and I'm going to do a whole nother webinar on acne, and I'll share my experience with that. But I know if I'm off my game of taking care of my hormones, I'm going to get a breakout right in this area here, or it's going to come across through here. Cheeks and all that, this is respiratory, circulatory system. Again, filters clogged and junked up. And all this through here is our endocrine system. So it's very, very cool. So again, that's like a simple step that you can start to take for yourself. And, you know, estrogen dominance, it's one of those things people say to me, well, so how long? 3 months, 6 months? And I'm like, no, like you're going to be working at clearing this for life. And that's just the reality. And that's the other thing too, is if someone tells you like, give me 3 months and I'm going to cure you, I'm going to heal you, we're going to treat it. Again, I would be really trepidatious on that. You can learn more in that period of time. You can start to increase your healing potential and ability in that time. But I mean, we are talking like I still do things every day to be reducing my exposure to chemical estrogens, and I don't have estrogen dominance, but it is coming at us all the time. That just like if you walk by your what's it called, like your vents in your house, and you see all the dust and the buildup and you're like, oh my gosh, what do? You get the vacuum. Well, maybe you walk past it for a couple of days and then you're like, I gotta vacuum that, and you vacuum it. Have you ever pulled your filters out of like your furnace or your water filtration system and you're like, oh, or you get hair clogged in the sink and you pull it up and see all the sludge that's in there? You don't know that that's going on in your body because you're not like, oh, I'm just going to open up my, you know, abdomen area and just pull out that liver and see how it's doing. This is happening in our own body behind the scenes all the time. And, you know, those major filtering organs, your skin, your liver, your lungs, your kidneys, your bowels, if we aren't supporting them and giving them this daily kind of sloughing and squeeze to get everything out, it is staying in our bodies and it is retoxing us, and it is creating honestly a chemical shitstorm in ourselves and wreaking havoc on our hormones. You know, I talked about how the gut is connected to this. And when I was doing a lot of my research, this was another study that was done at the beginning of 2016. And it was done by a doctor at Harvard. She's a gastroenterologist who actually found that there was a 3-fold risk, which means that the risk was 3 times higher for women who had used the birth control pill to actually end up with having Crohn's disease. And this is huge. Huge. So this is a leaky gut syndrome issue. And this study was actually showing that not only was it 3 times higher for women who had used the pill to have Crohn's disease, but the data was showing that the pill was acting more like an antibiotic in the gut, which was destroying this balance inside of our bodies and contributing to leaky gut syndrome. What the heck does that mean, leaky gut? It means that the lining of your stomach starts to become porous, and things that we don't want coming in start to make their way in, and undigested food that we don't yet want to leave the stomach starts to make its way out. And your immune system is like, who the heck is this coming into the body? You're not even supposed to be out here. You're undigested protein, antigens, and food particles, and your body's smart and your body is on your side to defend you. So your body will start to go after these particles and try to burn them up. They will try to increase macrophagy and get rid of it out of your system. And you can do that for a while behind the scenes until you start to feel the symptoms, the gas and the bloating all the time, the burning, the reflux, the inflammation, the joint pain, the brain fog, the sleep issues, the anxiety, the eczema, the psoriasis, the thyroid issues, all of these things that we think are just happening overnight, but that have been a slow buildup behind the scenes that have been going on. And so can we start to work towards improving those? Oh my gosh. Absolutely, we can. There are wonderful leaky gut healing protocols. And again, everything comes back to healing that gut. And this is like, if you were to come to me and say, okay, I don't think I have a gut issue, I have a thyroid issue. So let's talk about that and how the thyroid is impacted by things like the pill and also things like the Mirena IUD, because the Mirena IUD, even though this doesn't necessarily shut down ovulation 100%, it slows it down because you are given, I think it's 52 milligrams of the progestin, a chemical form of progestin, the same type they use in the pill is what is in the IUD. So when it's inserted in the cervix, it can stay in you for up to 5 years. So it's 52 milligrams in it, and then it releases about 20 micrograms daily into your body. So it's a slow release And the purpose of the IUD, the Mirena IUD, is that it is actually thinning the lining of the uterus, and it is making it inhospitable for a fertilized egg to embed into the lining of the uterus, and it's slowing down the ovulatory production. If it's a copper IUD that you're using, there's no synthetic hormones, but the copper IUD creates this thick mucus in the cervix to prevent the sperm being able to actually even penetrate that mucus. It's almost like creates like this like kind of webbing where it can't get through it to get up to find an egg and then actually fertilize itself. But all of these things, because outside of the copper IUD, and the copper one can actually impact your thyroid because it can, create mineral deficiencies which impact the thyroid, zinc and selenium, B vitamins, magnesium as well too. Iodine, these are some of the bigger issues that show up with this thyroid. So your thyroid's super important because it's responsible for producing the hormones that are regulating your metabolic rate, as well as your heart, your digestive function, your muscle control, your brain development, your mood, and your bone maintenance. So your thyroid, while tiny in size in the front of your throat here, it's super mighty in the duties that it has for you. It weighs less than an ounce, but affects everything from your immune system to your metabolism. And if your thyroid is out of whack, you will have no energy, you will have no sex drive, and your weight loss will be a massive struggle. It is now estimated that 1 in 3 people, more than 80% of them being women, are suffering from some form of thyroid disease, and that 90 to 97% of them are suffering from the autoimmune form, which is Hashimoto's thyroiditis. And what's the biggest link to autoimmune disease? It's the gut. And like I said in the beginning, you convert T4 to T3 in the gut. You produce all of your neurotransmitters, tryptophan, serotonin, converting these into dopamine and melatonin in the lining of the gut. So if you're feeling depressed, if you've got anxiety, if you can't sleep, if you, are waking every night and are up for a few hours in the middle of the night, we're going to be about 15 more minutes. That is a big issue. And so it's, again, sitting back and looking at the totality of all of this. And it's important. Listen, if I was just to come on here and just give you tips on how to be healthy and you didn't understand all the other stuff, I don't think that is as effective. You need to understand the why behind the what, and then be given some of those steps and suggestions on what you can start to do. So, okay, obviously, some of you ask questions about what about things like condoms and sperms and foams and those types of things. So obviously condoms, we know how they work. Spermicide, it's a chemical. It can cause irritation, definitely more things like yeast infections and that type of stuff. Foams are the same thing. And then, I'm a huge fan because people always ask me, okay, if I'm not using the pill and I'm not using an IUD, what the heck am I doing to not get pregnant? So my first suggestion would be to you is, if this is new to you, that you use a barrier method diligently. So something like the condom, for at least 3 to 6 months while you start to track your menstrual cycle. You need to track your cycle. There are many different apps that you can use in the free cycle syncing guide that I'm going to send you all. I'm going to share a couple of different apps in there, and you can log not only when your cycle is happening, but your signs, your symptoms, your mood, when you're intimate, those types of things. There is something called the Daisy Fertility Tracker. Now, it is like, the apps are free. The Daisy is about $350, but it actually is like an ovulatory kit. So the apps are going to guess as around to when you are ovulating. If you have a fairly regular cycle, it's pretty accurate. You only have a couple days in the month where you are truly fertile, but sperm can live a little bit longer. And sometimes these apps, they aren't always 100% accurate. So there's usually like a 3 to 5 day window where you would want to be practicing, abstinence around that time to ensure that you are not getting pregnant. I don't recommend things like using a withdrawal method because, well, we all know that that's typically doesn't end up well. But I would definitely recommend that you're tracking for at least 3 to 6 months to start to see, what is my rhythm? What is my body telling me and educating me on? And when you do come off of, whether it's the pill or you stop using an IUD or whatever it was, if you were taking a shot or using the patch or any of those types of things, your body needs that period of time to actually let its shoulders drop. Like, think about this. we look at it like, oh God, here comes my period again, like another month with my period. Ladies, the average cycle is anywhere from 23 to 35 or 36 days. And that also is up in the air depending on who we're talking about. That means that the average woman is only going to have 10 to maybe 13 periods in an entire year. That's only 10 to 13 opportunities to actually look at this cycle as a whole and start to create some internal change. It takes time. We're so used to just like, well, okay, what's the thing I need to buy? Give me the supplement, give me the pill, do this thing so that it creates what I want right away. If your goal is to have awesome hormonal health and awesome health in general moving forward, you need to be more patient with your body. You have to start to allow those natural rhythms to come back into place. The other thing that I'd recommend is you need to continue to further your education. So there's a couple of great books that I'm going to send the authors and the titles to my assistant who's going to put it in the notes for Friday. But Taking Charge of Your Fertility by Toni Weschler. I read this book when I was like 19 years old, which was 20 years ago. I still recommend it to almost every woman who comes into my practice who needs this type of information. The Woman Code by Alyssa Vitti, The Period Repair Manual by Dr. Laura Brighton, and Dr. Jolene Brighton's book, Ditch the Pill, which is coming out in the new year. Like you can't, I'm so happy you're here with me tonight, but you cannot have just one voice being your education. You have to, unless it's like everything I'm saying, you're like, oh my God, she has a camera in my house and she is talking about me and she knows exactly what's going on in my body. But like, I don't have just one source of education. I'm constantly, bringing new voices and new info into my life so that I can just build upon what I know. And I really strongly encourage you to do the same. Like, stop listening to music in the car or start listening to podcasts and audiobooks. My new podcast is dropping on September 17th, I believe it is, the Simplicity Session. So that'll be coming out. I digress. Okay, so I want to get into talking about my 7 pillars of hormonal health, and I'm going to open up the floor for questions. So how do we get to this place where we can start to create a little bit more healing? Number 1 is optimized digestion and elimination. Okay, so we want to get rid of the gas and the bloating, and we want to be pooping every single day. Okay. The second thing is we want to, and with that, this is going to be improving our estrogen detoxification, getting it out of our body. And there's 2 phases of detoxification that happen. And that's an important part of step 2, which is improving the nutrients we are putting into our body. So specifically the nutrients that we need to replenish after a synthetic form of birth control, whether it's now or you were on this, ladies, 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago and didn't do anything to clear it out of your system. The basics would be like your foundational 5, which is a great quality probiotic, vitamin D, omega-3. Magnesium is critical as a woman. If you aren't taking magnesium, I'd really recommend that you do start to do that. In my book, The Simplicity Project, I write about all of that. In the Hormone Project, I write all of that. I tell you guys brands, amounts, everything. And we want to make sure that your B vitamins are being replenished, specifically B12, B2, and B6, or you can just take a really good quality full spectrum B. Vitamin C is massive to help your adrenal health get back on track and to help you with stress. And selenium is really important for your thyroid. So I love companies. There's lots of great different companies out there. You're not going to find them at Shoppers Drug Mart and you're not going to find them at Costco. So you're going to want to go to your reputable, good health stores. If you're available to go to a store where they have practitioners on the floor who can help you, that is even better. And then we want to be making sure that we're doing something for the gut. So probiotic is part of that, but maybe a digestive enzyme, collagen or bone broth, L-glutamine are amazing for helping to heal the lining of the stomach. Something like deglycerized licorice, DGL, or slippery elm, especially if you have a lot of reflux going on. And then something like NAC, which is N-acetylcysteine, which is an amino acid that helps that phase 2 detoxification in your body. Honoring your liver. So this is where I talked about, the tinctures, Chinese medicine, but also what are like your liver happy foods. As women, we need to get more cruciferous in. Why do women tend to stay away from Brussels sprouts and cabbage and broccoli sprouts and those types of things? Because they get gassy and they're tooting everywhere. And most likely it's because your digestive system is a bit underactive. So if you, again, work on the first pillar, which is healing the digestive system, you're going to be able to uptake and to absorb those foods and those nutrients that much better. Root vegetables are so critical. So your squashes, pumpkins, sweet potatoes, parsnips, rutabaga, jicama, organic fruits, healthy fats, healthy nuts and seeds and avocado and coconut, organic eggs, wild fish, grass-fed meats. Those types of things and foods are really going to help your body. The chlorophyll and lemon that I talked about, adding in beets, those types of things. Okay, whoa, I'm popping over here. There's tons of questions again here on the side. I'm going to get there in like one moment. Let me just get through these little pillars here and then I'm going to hop right in there. So that's steps 1 and 2 is optimizing digestion and elimination, improving your nutrients. Step 3, stabilizing your blood sugar. I think at the end of the day, when I actually look at what it is that I do for a living, is I teach women how to optimize their blood sugar and digestion, and everything else calms down. Those are really like the first 3 critical steps. Step 4 is establishing your personal hormonal imbalances. Like, what is actually going on in your body? And this is much easier to do after you've done steps 1, 2, and 3. It's really hard to do in the beginning when your body is just like, oh my gosh, there's so many things going on. My approach as a practitioner is I never treat you on the same day you're coming into my practice and we're doing a consultation online, or the same day you're starting a program, because you have all the things that are going on. And I'm like, I need to calm down all the gnarly stuff on top first, see how your body can actually work on its own when it just gets supported through your gut and nutrients and pooping every day. Then let's see what's left over. Now we can start to determine, is it your thyroid I need to be addressing? Is it estrogen dominance? Is it an androgenic thing? Is it severely low progesterone? Is it your cortisol? Is it your organic acids? What is it that's going on? It's hard to tell when everything is happening. So we do the first 3 steps of cleaning up, then start to establish what's actually going on with the hormones. And then the 5th element is supporting the liver and the kidneys. So this is not just about like taking things. It's about like, how are you living? This leads into step 6, which is addressing your adrenal care. Like, how many of you can honestly say you carve out time every day that's like something just for you? Like a 5-minute walk, 2 minutes with your eyes closed of breathing, listening to a podcast, reading a page of a book, making sure you have time to like connect and hug and snuggle with your husband before you go to bed. It doesn't always have to be sex and intimacy, right? Like, just even that hug is just going to give you this massive hit of oxytocin, which is so calming to your nervous system. Do you move your body on a daily basis? Like, you know, do you eat? Do you make wonderful food for your family and then you kind of get the leftover scraps? Do you drink enough water? Like, these are simple things. I'm not saying you have to go and join this gym and go and do. No, like, these are simple things. Can you get to bed before 10:30 at night? Like, can you just leave whatever is in your house that has to get done? Because it'll be there tomorrow. I promise. The laundry and the dishes aren't going to go anywhere. And can you just go to bed? Can you shut your light off? Can you get off the phone and go to bed? Like, I can't supplement lack of sleep. I can't. People ask me all the time, what can you give me because I'm not sleeping? I need you to get your ass in bed. And if we work on steps 1 through 5, and we also calm down your poor little liver and kidneys, which is probably what's waking you up between 1 and 4 in the morning, especially like if you wake up at 3 every morning, liver, blood sugar, it is those 2. We calm those down. Sleep is something that is more available to you. And then the 7th step, this is the kind of like final step, is the metabolic repair, the weight, the cravings, the thyroid. And you see, everyone wants to do step 7 first. And so everyone looks at the metabolic repair, works out too hard, compromises everything else, goes after, you know, all of the ridiculous amount of, you know, this pill will do this for you and this will do that, and joins every program under the freaking sun, tries to deprive themselves, goes on every restrictive diet, cuts out carbohydrates 100%, and wonders why their body isn't responding. Because you started with the end first. You did it backwards. You've got to work from the inside out. And I promise, if you can slow it down, if you can be more patient and you take that approach, you are going to start to see the results that you are after. Okay, so how do you know what your hormone issue is? you need to watch this again. You need to listen again. You need to take notes. You need to be like, where do I fit into what she was talking about? You need to work with someone, whether it's someone you're working with in person, whether it's someone you're working with online. If you really are at that place where you're like, I'm done, I'm drawing the line in the sand, so many things that I heard about tonight or that I keep hearing about that the universe just keeps dropping in my lap is continually like honestly smacking me up the side of the head. Your next step is start to work with someone. Do you have a great local ND that's around you, a functional medicine practitioner? Do you want to join the Hormone Project? Like, you have lots of options of what you can do, but you need to be working with someone who has a 360 view of what's going on and does not have just a singular approach. That is, you know, if you're on the same protocol as every other person, like, this is the beauty of when you come into an online program, on the appearance, it looks like it's the same program, but that's why you have private consultations, because everything is tweaked depending on who you are, the human and the individual, okay? And yeah, some of you are asking about, okay, so let me go into some of these different questions here, okay? So we're 8:12. I'm going to commit to you that we'll be done by 8:30. Are you guys cool with that? Are you okay if we go a little bit longer? It's not chloroform, it's chlorophyll. Don't use chloroform. That will knock people out. That is like what goes over your mouth and makes you pass out. Please don't buy that. It's chlorophyll. It's a green liquid in a bottle. It's what gives plants and all of their greens nourishment. That would be bad. And if you buy that, do not tell people that I'm the one who told you to get that. Okay, I have to scroll up. Okay. Body seemed fine for about 8 months after I stopped the pill. Then it started to freak out with pain, acne, and wild. So post-birth control syndrome. This is a real diagnosis. Dr. Jolene Brighton is the one who actually coined this. It typically takes at least 6 months for this to set in. So remember how I said to you all, you want to track for at least 3 to 6 months. Our bodies, like this period you get this month is not a result of just this last month. It's what has been happening, honestly, for the last 100 days. That's how long it takes for like these follicles to be ripening in our ovaries and what's in this whole system and process to be happening behind the scenes. So the period you get this month, it's really like a cumulative effect of the last couple of months, like 3 months worth. So that's why tracking for at least 3 to 6 months. And we don't see a lot of these post-birth control pill syndrome issues crop up until somewhere around the 6 month and further mark. So thank you for sharing that, Leslie. What do you suggest for girls who are on the pill? Rhythm is not an option. Okay, so for young girls, I mean, listen, I'm not going to speak for every young girl because I had a pretty good head on my shoulders. I was 22 and I came off, and so I just learned my cycle, and I was like very, diligent about it. There was going to be no whoops that was going to happen. What I would say is, if we had to look at all 3 options, the birth control pill, the Mirena IUD, and the copper IUD, all of them have their pros and their cons. The pill probably has the most side effects out of all 3 of them. Mirena would be the second for side effects, and the copper IUD would be the last one, simply because the copper IUD is changing the acidity in the environment of the uterus, the cervix, and the vagina, but it is not actually releasing chemical hormones into the body. Now, this all depends on the girl, because this has to be inserted by a practitioner into the actual cervix. And it can sometimes get, I don't want to say ingested, embedded in the lining of the uterus, and sometimes it can expel itself out on its own. I would have a conversation with her. I would have her listen to this. If she still wants to stay on the pill, we're just going to start to take care of her body and optimize her digestion, get the nutrients into her system, and make sure that she is informed. It's not a choice we as mom can make. Trust me, my daughter's years away from being this, but this will be a conversation that even happens with her, and I can't make the choice for her, but I am definitely going to give her all of the information so that she knows how to take care of her body if she does choose to go on it. Is it possible to ovulate on different days of the regular cycle? It is. It is. And most commonly, it's very rare unless you're on something that's controlling it to have like a perfect 28-day cycle. It does happen for some women, but typically you'll see, you know, where it's like 2 to 3 days kind of within that range, you know, it's coming around that time. So ovulation, if the period comes earlier, it means you ovulated earlier. If the period comes later, it means you ovulated later. So the longer your actual cycle is, it means you're ovulating at a latter date. So for somebody who is having a 26 to 28 day cycle, they might ovulate on day, you know, 8, 9, or 10. For somebody whose cycle is 28 to 32 days, they might ovulate on day like 12 or 13. So it can change from month to month. You also, you know, you might release from the right ovary a couple of times in a row in terms of like the next 2 months might be right ovary releasing, and then the left, it kind of alternate and switches up. Some women only release eggs from one ovary, and so that can impact it as well too. When I was in my holistic nutrition program, I reached my breaking point with the pill, became trained on the Justice method, charting my cycle and basal temperature. Yes, thank you for mentioning that. So in the Taking Charge of Your Fertility book that I was talking to you about with Tony Weschler, this is actually what I used when we knew that we wanted to get pregnant, is I took my temperature every single morning. So I had already been charting my cycle, literally like the old school mouth thermometer, not the forehead one or the ear one. That's not what you're using for your ovulation, okay? You can do it vaginally. I decided to do it in my mouth instead. And so I literally would wake up in the morning, didn't even get up, grabbed the thermometer, took my temperature, recorded my temperature. When you see the spike in your temperature, this is estrogen is climbing, hormones are elevating, and then you see this drop happen in your temperature, ovulation has taken place, right? I also use this a lot for thyroid health. When doctors won't agree to do full spectrum testing and women can't afford to do other diagnostics, we'll look at what's happening with their basal temperature. So this is amazing. Doing it every single morning, which also gave me insight into my adrenal health. Yes, this is what I was just talking about with the thyroid. I finally, at the age of 35, fully understand my cycle. As I was trained and continue to do so, my cycle became very predictable. It's allowed me to just abstain during the middle and use a barrier method between. That's awesome. I am so happy for you, Jessica. That's amazing. Yeah, and that is really the same approach that I used for so long until my husband did decide to get a vasectomy. 2 kids who never slept through that. He was like, I'm done. I was like, okay. We got a dog instead. Yeah, so that is a fantastic approach and way to just really learn about your body. How many of these, or does a multi-milligrams of these, or does a multi? So I don't recommend multivitamins. I'm going to be straight up honest. I never have in my practice in, you know, like almost 20 years of being a nutritionist, I've never recommended a multivitamin. So I recommend a whole food based product. So for me and my family, it's Juice Plus. If you don't decide to use Juice Plus, use a full spectrum like whole food greens powder or something from like Mega Food. You know, AOR is a great company, Genestra, Thorne, Douglas Laboratories, those are good companies, but I would not be just taking a multivitamin thinking that I'm covering all my bases. That is like the bare minimum of what your body needs. And then you're also crossing your fingers and hoping that you're actually breaking down that tablet or that capsule and getting all of it in your system. So you definitely need to have some of those additional add-ons. Is this for 10-year-olds too? I'm not sure what the question is about. Is it for 10-year-olds? I was told by a naturopath to take Capsella for heavy periods. Shepherd's Purse is what I have found to be one of the most effective tinctures when you have very, very heavy periods. Shepherd's Purse, it depends on the company you're buying from, but you take that to stop heavy flow. There's also different homeopathic remedies like folliculinum, cimicifuga, that can also help with heavy menstrual flow. And those things, there are no contraindications to. They're all very easy to implement, very low cost as well, to be taking and trying for those heavy cycles. But you have to remember that they're not going to get rid of the root cause. They're going to help to manage the heaviness of the flow, but you still have to discover why you're having such heavy periods in the first place. Is it estrogen dominance? Is it an over-thickened uterine lining? Is it endometriosis? Do you have, you know, ovarian polyps or fibroids or cysts that are going on in your system? Do you know if you are ovulating or if your body's just producing a period by memory? I've been tracking my period for 2 years. It's regular, but my acne is not improving. So that's not that you're not necessarily ovulating and that's why you're getting the acne. Typically, if you still got acne, I'd be looking at the gut, the bowels, the liver for the first tier, and then I'd be doing further investigation into the androgens. So your adrenals are producing DHEA and I'd be looking at your testosterone and then the metabolites. So this is where I would use the Dutch hormone testing, the dried urinary test, because blood work only shows us a small fraction of what we need to know about our hormones. And even the salivary testing, great for adrenal health and looking at your cortisol and cortisone patterning, but it's not going to tell me your metabolites. The only way to do that right now worldwide is through precision analytics. And it's the Dutch hormone test. And that is a big part of what I do in the Hormone Project. And I help you interpret. We do it through Zoom. I pull up all of your results. I walk you through and explain every single thing that the test is telling you about your body. I do this with you with your blood work as well. I do not diagnose anything. I do not diagnose. I simply explain to you what this is telling us about your body and then where we could start to create some improvement. And everything is recorded for you and then sent back to you because you need to hear things more than once. But this is like, oh my God, I feel like it's giving women a treasure map to their body. Honestly, when you can start to understand it, it's like you found the treasure map to figuring out like where the trunk of all the goods are, which is locked up inside of you. We just need to figure out a way to access them. Does high estrogen pill worsen? Oh, yes. Yes, it does. So it is going to worsen a lot of the premenstrual issues going on. It's going to worsen the dysmenorrhea and definitely it has a huge impact on our insulin, again, because of this gut connection. So the high estrogen pills are definitely worse for sure. My daughter's having breakthrough bleeding. What does that mean? Typically, it's that there's not enough estrogen in the pill. And so a doctor will tell you that could be normal. It's nothing to worry about. Their typical solution is to put her on a higher estrogen pill. Again, that's one of those things where it's a conversation to have with her, but I would, how long has it been going on for? Tell her to give it another couple of months. If she's not prepared to come off the pill, she can try doing the shepherd's purse for that and see if that makes a difference. But if she's having the breakthrough bleeding, I'm going to assume that it is happening midway through the cycle. And sometimes it's like the body's way of saying, like, I'm supposed to be ovulating right now. What is going on? Why isn't this happening? And we get that breakthrough. And if you were to ask a medical professional, they would tell you that's absolute bogus. But I'm telling you that's my opinion on that. I was put on so many hormones because of fibroids. Oh, Medina, Depo, oh my gosh. To stop the bleeding, my hair fell out, I gained weight, had horrible mood swings. It's been a year of no hormones, but I still don't feel right. So Allison, this is where you definitely need to be on some type of a protocol and working with somebody to do a detox. You have so much residual chemical forms of these hormones in your body that have got to be purged and moved out of your system. Send me an email after this, please, jen@jenpike.com with 2 N's. A lot of the symptoms mimic fibromyalgia. Yes. Oh, Nicole, I just got goosebumps for you. I'm beginning to think it's all birth control. I have been on it since I was 15. Symptoms started at 32, and now I suffer symptoms at 43. Mirena is due to be removed next, and I will not be using it again. Wow, that is quite the history, and I have heard this type of story so many times. Again, I would say the same thing I just said to Allison, is that yes, we need to get these out of your body and then need to work with your body to help to remove and detoxify this out of your system and reestablish a baseline in your body. I just want to say thank you to all of you so much for being so vulnerable and sharing a lot of what is going on. These are not easy topics and easy things to talk about, but I also want you to know that you being brave enough to bring it up and speak about it, I can guarantee you there are other women that are on this live with us tonight and that are listening to the recording that have been going through the same thing, and they just don't know how to ask, or they're afraid to. They're afraid to ask the question, or they're afraid to hear the answer. So I really want to say thank you to those of you that are posting your questions, because you are making a big difference. My doctor's throwing up to brutal cramps, she wants to go on the pill. What are the alternatives? We've got to work on her hormone levels. We've got to work on her high levels of estrogen, and supporting her body. So the pill is just going to suppress it deeper. And if she's throwing up due to the bad cramps, she is probably going to be really nauseous on the pill. I would highly recommend, you know, she sounds like she's young, so I would highly recommend going in to see a naturopath or working with a classical homeopath. At her age, there's a lot of really great homeopathic remedies that you could be trying to help to calm that down. And where, I don't know where you live. I'm going to see if I can highlight on that one. She's 14. Okay, yeah. So let's look at other options before her going on the pill. What I want you to do is I want you to go onto your general Facebook community and just say, like, who has a fantastic naturopath that works in women's health and hormones, and please let me know. And if you can't find anybody, I know a couple who do Skype sessions as well too, and we will get you connected with somebody, because there's so many other things that we can be doing at her young age to be helping her body. Is it safe to mix the St. Francis liver tincture with other supplements? I'm also taking inositol and rhodiola. For those two, you would be okay, yes. What are your thoughts on organotherapies for lunar syncing? Yeah, so I love lunar syncing. And in the cycle syncing guide that I'm sending out to all of you, you will read about this as well. Because if you don't have a menstrual cycle, we can't psych your cycle up based on your bleed. We use the moon. So new moon bleed or full moon bleed. So are you a white moon bleed or are you a red moon bleed? And I'm a huge fan of that. And I write about it in that cycle syncing guide. So yes, I believe in it 1000%. I actually have, one second. I actually have, this is like my moon syncing guide that I have that I keep by, because I believe in it so much. And I know in my body that what's happening lunar wise impacts what's happening physically, mentally, and emotionally. So I'm a huge, huge believer in that. I'm 36, been dealing with breakthrough bleeding since I was 15. Finally stopped birth control in July. Keep your fingers crossed. Okay, so this means that you've had breakthrough bleeding the entire time because you were on birth control. Wow, okay, so 21 years, same thing. Detox needs to happen. Like, and I'm not talking a detox where you're gonna go buy a detox kit at the store and like take a fiber supplement and all that stuff. This is like, this is, oh, ladies, this is why I created the Hormone Project. This is the very type of stuff that we are talking about. Every group I bring in, so I start with my 7th group in October, and every group I bring in, there is a different theme. Right now, it feels like this theme is going to be about helping women recover from post birth control pill issues and help to reestablish a cycle and a rhythm in their body, clean up their liver, support getting rid of excess estrogen, help them heal acne. Everything in me right now is just like vibrating that this is going to be the group that is going to be coming in with me. And yes, I will link all of that info up and you can read everything about it. It starts October 1st. We're 50% sold out at this point. You do get consultations with me in that one. We do it like this and I record it so that you have it and can listen to it. So I'll send you guys all of the information on it. Why do you think my gyno told me this story about how the pill is the best option for me, someone with PCOS, and that it will actually keep my ovaries from getting tired? And it'll be my best chance of getting pregnant once I get off the pill. I was even told women with PCOS have better chances of getting pregnant after being on the pill. I was on the pill for a few years because of ovarian cysts. The cyst went away on the pill. I tried and went off for a year, and since the cyst came back, my gyno said to go back on the pill. And I just want it fixed ASAP, but now I want to try other alternatives. Okay, so here's one of the things in that. You went on the pill and the cyst went away. You came off the pill and the cyst came back. So the pill just suppressed it deeper into your body. And when you came off the pill and you no longer had the synthetic hormones anymore, and you still have the estrogen dominance or whatever it is that's feeding these cysts, the cyst came back. Again, I would recommend that you look into some alternative options and that you reach out you know, to either send us an email and we can help to create a connection for you. I'm not too sure where you live, but I think that this is time to, you know, exercise your options maybe outside of the medical field and get some different eyes on your case, and to get somebody who's going to look at the full picture. You know, it's so unfortunate that, you know, I deal with a lot of women who have all of these menstrual issues, you know, that come in with really heavy periods, and there's a 3-prong approach. First prong is, let's put you on the birth control pill, regardless of your age and what else is going on, to control your heavy bleeds. Then when you start to have breakthrough bleeding and we try you on other pills and that doesn't work, or you don't feel good, we're going to offer you a cervical ablation. We're actually going to take a laser and we're going to burn off and cauterize part of the lining of your uterus. When that doesn't work, or when you have to have multiple ones and you don't want to come back for another one, we're going to talk about a radical or partial hysterectomy. It's like those are the 3 big options that women are given. It's crazy. There's so many other natural things, whether it's a naturopath, a Chinese medicine practitioner, a homeopath. Is it energy work that you need to have? Is it actually just some education? Is it shape-shifting the food that's going into your body? Is it giving you more nutrients than you've been getting right now and you know, increasing your deficiencies? Is it removing the chemicals and things that are in your environment? Is there toxicity that you're being exposed to in your house, in your workplace, that you don't know about? Is your stress so overwhelming and so high that it is literally jacking your cortisol, draining your adrenals, totally dysregulating that entire communication happening in your body, eating up all of your progesterone, all of your energy, your libido, and literally just like catabolizing what it wants and taking you down with it? There's so many other things that are going on. And this is the whole problem, is we are just like tunnel vision. Oh, you have heavy bleeding? Okay, well, this is what we're going to do. Well, how long have you had it? Well, why is this happening? What else is going on in your body? Explain to me how you're actually feeling. What does your day look like? What time do you get up at? What do you do when you wake up? What's the rest of your day? Do you love your job? How's the environment that you're in? How are your relationships? Are you ever stressed about your finances? What's your bedtime routine? What time do you go to sleep? How's your sleep throughout the night? Like, can we start to have these bigger conversations? What's your health history of your family? What's the timeline? How healthy were you as a child growing up? What was your mom's pregnancy like when you were in utero with her? Because when your mom was in your grandmother's belly, you were inside your mom's ovary, inside that belly. So there are generational things that are coming forward with us. And your genes don't determine your destiny, but your genes have an ability to either be kept dormant and turned off and not create issues, or to be turned on. And that's epigenetics. And it is your lifestyle that impacts that, okay? There's not a supplement to correct your lifestyle. It's education and knowledge, and then choosing better choices. Deciding to get up tomorrow and do one thing different. Those are the things that are ultimately going to lead to better health and better clarity in your body. And when your body feels better, your mind feels better. And all of those things come together for just a more vital, happy you. Okay. Okay. I'm just seeing some other things in here. Okay, so for some of you are asking for me to repeat some of the things in there. You're going to get it in the recording. All right, we've been 90 minutes. Is there any other questions before we hop off? Have you found this valuable, educational, good, worth your night? Are you going to share this? I want you to share this, please. You know, it's like, as a mom, I know I could not sit down and have this type of conversation always with my daughter. She'd be like, I don't want to hear it. But if I just press play, if it's someone else's voice, if it's me in the background, whatever it is, you need to share this. You need to get this type of information into more women's hands. So we're going to send you the recording. You can share it with as many people as you want. And I will tell you this, that when you are on this journey of trying to better yourself and to get healthier, you're going to have pushback from people. You are going to have, oh, I'm coming to Bradford. I'm coming to Bradford next week. And I'm coming to Belleville on Friday and Kingston on Saturday and Barrie on Sunday. I'm going on my big hormone project tour. I'm doing an in-home event at my house Tuesday night, which is all about the adrenal care, the self-love. And I still have spots left for that here in my house. It's like one of my most favorite things. It's a really intimate evening that I do with a small group of women. So it's the self-love project. You can sign up for that on the website. Yeah, so if you go under events on my page, you'll see everywhere that I'm going to be speaking and what it is that I'm doing. But I want you to share this information. People will push back. They will tell you that you're weird, you're crazy. They'll tell you that's ridiculous, that what you're going through is normal. No, it's common. Common does not equate to it being normal. And so, listen, I've been a black sheep my whole life. And you just have to like forge forward. You got to wear your mama bear mentality that you do for your children when you know something is good and right for them, for yourself. You have to be that person for you and stop waiting for somebody else to do it for you. So you've already taken a massive step by committing your evening with me tonight. Like, that's huge. You just took this time out for yourself. So applaud yourself for that. And I'd love for you to listen to it again to get really clear on it. Any clarifying questions, please, please, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. My personal email that I'm going to give you, so this doesn't go to my team, this is my personal email, and I'm going to give a disclaimer that it will take me days to get back to emails. I just want you to know that because I get a lot every day, is Jen with 2 N's at jenpike.com. Now, if you're not in a rush and you can wait until Friday, you're going to get an email from my team with this full recording, the cycle syncing guideline, all the information about the Hormone Project, our contact stuff, all of that. Just reach out, let us know where we can be at, support. Please share with people on Instagram. All the things that people ask all the time, am I allowed to share this? Share it. Even when women come into the Hormone Project, I want your daughters to be part of it with you. I want them to sit and listen. Only you get the consultations, but everything else we add into this program, I don't care if you invite the whole flipping neighborhood of your girlfriends over to watch the classes that we do together live every week for 10 weeks. Be an ambassador for women's health. That is our duty, it takes a village, okay? It always has. We just stopped somewhere along the line. I think it's when Facebook came out. The internet got rid of the villages. It got rid of the red tent. We have to put that back into action and support one another and help to raise up the vibration of women and our girls everywhere. Okay, so you are all officially ambassadors of Simplicity and the Hormone Project just by saying yes tonight. Thank you all so much, and I hope to meet you over the next few weeks on tour or work with you privately in the Hormone Project. So have an amazing night, have a great sleep, get off your devices, and go to bed. Take care.